Welcome to my channel. Subscribe and enjoy daily stories about cheating, revenge, and relationship advice. I sank into the worn leather couch, the familiar creak of its springs doing little to ease the weight that had settled in my chest. Diana was across from me, a world of emotions etched onto her face. The living room, usually a haven of comfort, felt like a stage for the unraveling of everything we had built over the past 22 years. The words Diana had just spoken replayed in my mind like a broken record. "John, I've been thinking. I want to cheat on you." Her voice had been soft, almost hesitant, but the gravity of her statement was unmistakable. I tried to keep my composure, but I could feel the anger and hurt bubbling up inside me, threatening to spill over. "You want to cheat?" I echoed, my voice cracking slightly despite my efforts to stay calm. Diana's gaze fell to the floor, her hands fidgeting with the hem of her sweater. "I know how it sounds. I do. It's just. I've been feeling so trapped lately. Like I'm suffocating. I don't know what's happened to us, John. We used to be so connected." I ran a hand through my hair, struggling to process what I was hearing. "You're telling me you want to throw everything away for what? A fling? A momentary escape?" She winced at the bitterness in my tone. "It's not just about a fling. It's about feeling alive again. I've been trying to tell you how unhappy I am, and I thought you'd understand. I thought you'd help me find a way out of this rut." I wanted to shout at her, to tell her how selfish she was being, but I took a deep breath instead. "We've talked about this before, Diana. I've listened. I've been patient. But this is different. This isn't just a feeling you can brush aside. This is a choice." Diana's eyes were filled with tears now, and she reached out to touch my arm. "John, I never meant to hurt you. I'm just so lost." I pulled away from her touch, feeling a sting of betrayal. "So, what now? You've made up your mind, haven't you? You're already planning to meet him?" She nodded, her face a portrait of regret and confusion. "Yes, I am. But I need to know what to do. I don't want to lose everything, but I also don't want to live a lie." I shook my head, feeling a mix of anger and sorrow. "I'm not sure how to move forward from here. This isn't just about you and me anymore. This affects our whole family." She looked up, her voice trembling. "I know, John. I'm so sorry. I thought that if I could just make things better for myself, maybe I could find a way back to us. But now, I don't know." I stood up, pacing the room. "I need time to think, Diana. We both do. But here's the thing, I'm giving you an ultimatum. Either you come with me to the beach house this weekend. We'll talk things through, see if there's a way to salvage what we have. Or you leave, and you follow through with your plans. If you choose to go through with him, I can't keep waiting around." "I won't." Diana stared at me, her face pale. "John, please. Let's not make this a final decision. Can't we?" "No," I cut her off firmly. "You've made your choice. Now it's my turn to make mine. I need to know where we stand." She didn't respond, just sat there with tears streaming down her face. I walked out of the room, leaving her in the silent, heavy atmosphere of our home. The house was unusually quiet as I returned home from work that day. The tension between Diana and me had been palpable ever since her confession, but I needed to confront her about what I had discovered. I had hoped that seeing her would clarify things, but the sight of the evidence in my hands made it clear, our marriage was at a critical juncture. I had found the messages on Diana's phone when I was tidying up the bedroom, a small slip of paper with a name and a number, and then her texts to a man named Jake. The messages were intimate, filled with promises of passion and excitement. It was clear Diana had more than just fleeting thoughts, she had plans. As I walked into the kitchen, Diana was standing by the counter, her back turned to me. The smell of something cooking lingered in the air, but I had no appetite. I held the printouts of the messages tightly in my hand, trying to keep my emotions in check. "Diana," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "We need to talk. She turned around, her eyes widening as she saw the documents in my hand. John, what is that? Evidence, I said flatly. Evidence that you've been planning to cheat on me. I saw the texts you've been sending to Jake. Diana's face turned pale, and she looked like she might collapse. John, No, I interrupted, holding up a hand to stop her. I don't want to hear excuses right now. I need to know where we go from here. She looked at me with a mixture of desperation and guilt. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I was trying to find a way to make myself feel better. I get that you're feeling trapped, I said, my voice tight. But this isn't the solution. You've been given a choice. You can either come with me to the beach house this weekend, just the two of us, and we can try to work through this. Or you can go meet him, and if you do, it's over. Diana's eyes filled with tears. John, please don't make me choose like this. I didn't want it to come to this. I didn't want it to come to this either, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. But here we are. You've made your intentions clear, and now I need to make mine. If you choose to go through with this affair, you're not coming back here. I won't wait around for you to decide whether you want our marriage or not. Diana shook her head, her tears flowing freely now. I don't want to lose you. I don't know what to do. I looked at her, my heart heavy. You have to make a decision, Diana. This isn't something I can fix for you. You have to choose between us, what we've built together, or him. I need you to make that choice before it's too late. Diana stood there, frozen, her hands gripping the edge of the counter. John, I need more time. Please. I shook my head, feeling a deep sadness settle in. No, Diana. You've had time. I need you to decide now. I can't keep living like this, waiting for you to figure out what you want. I turned and walked out of the kitchen, leaving Diana standing alone in the room. The silence that followed was deafening, a stark reminder of how fractured our once solid life had become. The days following John's ultimatum were a blur of anxiety and introspection for Diana. The sun was setting on a particularly gray day, casting long shadows across the living room floor as Diana sat curled up in an armchair, a glass of wine clutched in her hand. The choice she had to make weighed heavily on her, and the warmth of the wine did nothing to comfort her. She had spent the last few hours pacing the house, trying to find clarity in the chaos of her emotions. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table, a reminder of the impending rendezvous with Jake. Diana hesitated before picking it up, her finger hovering over the screen as if it were a loaded weapon. With a sigh, she unlocked her phone and opened her messages. Jake's texts were filled with anticipation and affection, a stark contrast to the cold reality of her situation with John. The excitement and flirtation seemed so far removed from the painful confrontation she'd had with John. Just then, the phone rang. It was Carla, her closest friend. Diana considered ignoring it, but the guilt and uncertainty gnawed at her. She answered the call, her voice barely above a whisper. Hey, Carla. Diana, I've been trying to reach you. Carla's voice was full of concern. How are you holding up? Diana took a shaky breath. I'm not sure. I'm so lost right now. What happened? Carla asked gently. Diana hesitated, then spoke. John found out about Jake. He's given me an ultimatum. Either we go to the beach house this weekend and try to fix things, or I follow through with Jake and end our marriage. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Wow. That's a lot. Yeah, Diana said, rubbing her temples. I don't know what to do. Part of me feels like I should just go through with it, get it over with. But another part of me is terrified of losing everything, John, the kids, our life together. Diana, Carla's voice was firm, you need to really think about what you want. Not just what you're running from. What do you want for your future? For your family? Diana's eyes filled with tears as she struggled to find an answer. I thought I wanted excitement, a change. But now, all I can think about is how much I'll regret losing John. I love him, Carla. But I also feel like I'm suffocating. I get that, Carla said softly. But if you go through with this affair, you're not just risking your marriage. You're risking your whole family. Is it worth it? Diana swallowed hard, the weight of Carla's words sinking in. I don't know. I feel so torn. I'm afraid of making the wrong decision. Take some time to really think, Carla advised. Don't make a decision out of fear or pressure. Think about what you truly want for yourself and your family. Diana hung up the phone, feeling a mix of gratitude and despair. She stared at the messages from Jake, her heart aching as she realized how close she was to losing everything. The thought of ending her marriage felt more real than ever, but so did the possibility of reconciliation. The doorbell rang, startling her from her thoughts. Diana wiped her tears and walked to the door, finding her daughter, Emily, standing there with a shy smile. Hi, Mom. I just came by to drop off some schoolwork. Diana forced a smile, but the sight of her daughter made her heart ache even more. Thanks, sweetheart. How's school? Emily chatted about her day as Diana listened, her mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. As Emily left, Diana closed the door behind her, feeling a pang of guilt for the burden she had placed on her family. She sat back down in her armchair, feeling more lost than ever. The choice between Jake and John felt overwhelming, each option representing a different path with its own set of consequences. Diana knew she had to make a decision soon, but the weight of it all made it hard to see the right path forward. The beach house was serene and isolated, the ocean stretching endlessly before me, a fitting backdrop for the finality I felt settling in my heart. The waves crashed rhythmically against the shore, each roar a reminder of the decisions that had led me here. I stood on the deck, looking out at the horizon, feeling as though I was on the edge of everything I had ever known. I had arrived at the beach house 2 days ago, eager to escape the clamor of my thoughts and the emotional wreckage that was my home life. I needed space to think clearly, away from Diana's pleading eyes and the sharp sting of betrayal. I had planned on using this time to reflect and, hopefully, prepare myself for whatever came next. But as I reviewed the divorce papers laid out on the kitchen table, my heart felt heavy. The decision had been made, but the reality of it all was setting in. I could still hear Diana's voice echoing in my mind, pleading for a chance, but the betrayal had cut too deep. The doorbell rang, startling me. I had half hoped it would be Diana, but when I opened the door, it was Matt, my friend, standing there with a concerned look. Hey, John, Matt said, stepping inside. I didn't expect to find you here alone. I heard about what's been going on. Thought I'd check in on you. Hey, Matt, I said, trying to muster a smile. Thanks for coming by. Just needed some time to myself, I guess. Matt nodded, looking around the cozy, seaside retreat. I can see why you'd want to get away. It's a beautiful place. But how are you holding up? I sighed and led him to the kitchen, where the papers were spread out. I'm getting there. I've been making plans for the next steps, divorce papers and all that. It's been rough, though. Matt glanced at the papers and then back at me. I'm sorry, John. It must be really tough. I know Diana's been struggling with this decision, but it sounds like she's made her choice. She has, I said, sitting down at the table. She didn't show up here, which tells me all I need to know. I'm done waiting, done hoping for something that may never come. Matt placed a hand on my shoulder. You're doing the right thing for yourself. It's hard, but sometimes you have to choose what's best for your own well-being. I nodded, feeling a pang of sadness. I know. It's hard to accept that something so fundamental in my life is ending. Matt's phone buzzed, and he checked it quickly. Hey, it's Diana, he said, glancing up. She's trying to reach you. Maybe she's finally ready to talk. I took a deep breath, my emotions a mix of anger and lingering affection. I don't know if I'm ready to hear what she has to say. She had her chance. Matt gave me a sympathetic look. You should at least listen to her. Sometimes, you need closure to move forward. Reluctantly, I picked up the phone and dialed Diana's number. Her voice came through, sounding both relieved and hesitant. "John, I'm so glad you answered," Diana said. "I've been thinking about what you said, and I realize I've made a terrible mistake." I could hear the tremor in her voice, and my heart ached. "Diana, I'm not sure what you expect me to say. You had your chance to fix this, and now it's too late." "I know," she said, her voice cracking. "I just wanted to tell you that I'm sorry. I made a huge mistake. I didn't realize how much I would regret it. I want to come and talk to you. Please, John, give me a chance to explain." I looked out at the ocean, the weight of the moment pressing heavily on my chest. "Diana, I'm at the beach house. You know where I am. I've made my decision, and it's not something I can easily undo." There was a long pause on the other end. "I understand," Diana finally said. "I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. I wish things could be different." I closed my eyes, feeling the finality of it all. "Goodbye, Diana." I hung up the phone and sat in silence, the only sound the gentle crash of waves against the shore. The decision had been made, but the pain of it still lingered. As I signed the divorce papers, I felt a mix of relief and sorrow. It was the end of an era, and though I knew it was for the best, it didn't make the process any easier. With the papers signed and everything in place, I took a final look around the beach house. It had been a refuge, a place to think and come to terms with the reality of my situation. Now, it was time to face the future, to begin the process of healing and moving on. The waves continued their eternal dance, a reminder that life goes on, no matter how difficult the journey.